Imagine this. You are dead broke. You spend your days waiting tables at a local seafood restaurant, coming home smelling like old shrimp and garlic biscuits. Your bank account is empty, your resources are zero, but your dreams are massive. Most people would look at this situation and give up. They'd say the system is rigged. But one man looked at his empty pockets and realized that being broke wasn't a disadvantage, it was his greatest weapon. Today, you know him as the sharp-dressed, no-nonsense investor on ABC's Shark Tank. You know him as a multi-millionaire mogul. But before the fame, before the fortune, Daymond John was just a kid from Queens, New York, with a sewing machine and a dream. Welcome to Dollar Key. Today, we are unlocking the ultimate rags-to-riches story. We're going to show you exactly how Daymond John turned a $40 budget into a $6 billion global empire, and more importantly, how you can use his exact blueprint to achieve your own wildest dreams. If you want to master the mindset of the ultra-rich, make sure you watch until the very end, because the third lesson in this video is the exact strategy that saved his company from absolute bankruptcy. Let's dive in. The year was 1989. Hip-hop was exploding on the streets of New York. It wasn't just music, it was a movement, it was a culture. Daymond John grew up in Hollis, Queens, raised by a hard-working single mother. He didn't have a trust fund, he didn't have a Harvard business degree. What he did have was an obsession with the emerging hip-hop culture. At the time, young kids in his neighborhood were obsessed with a specific style of tie-top wool hats. But there was a problem. The big corporate brands were selling these hats for $20 a piece, a fortune for a kid in Queens. Daymond saw a gap in the market. He realized the big corporate brands didn't understand the culture. They were just profiting off it. So Daymond went to his mother. She taught him how to use a sewing machine, and with a total budget of just $40, Daymond bought some cheap fabric and sewed 90 hats in his living room. He and his neighborhood friends took those hats to the street corner and sold them for $10 each. In one single day, they made $800. That was the spark. Daymond realized that if he created clothing for his community, by his community, they would support him. And right there, the legendary brand FUBU was born. For us, by us. But starting a business is one thing, surviving is another. Daymond still had to pay the bills, so he worked full-time at Red Lobster. He would take orders, serve seafood, and then rush home to sew shirts in the middle of the night. By 1992, FUBU had momentum, but it didn't have capital. Daymond had been turned down by exactly 27 different banks. 27 bankers in expensive suits looked at this kid from Queens and told his hip-hop clothing brand was a joke. This is where most people quit. But Daymond understood a concept he later called the power of broke. When you have no money, you can't buy your way out of a problem. You have to think your way out. You have to out-hustle your competition. Daymond needed a massive marketing push, but he couldn't afford a billboard, so he used guerrilla marketing. He and his friends spray-painted the FUBU logo on the metal gates of closed storefronts all over New York. Suddenly, people thought FUBU was a massive, expensive brand. But his greatest masterstroke involved his childhood neighbor, who just happened to be a rising rap superstar named LL Cool J. LL Cool J was shooting a massive multi-million-dollar national commercial for the clothing brand Gap. Daymond convinced LL to wear a FUBU hat during the shoot. Gap spent millions airing the commercial, not realizing that their star was wearing a competitor's logo on his head. When the hip-hop community saw LL wearing FUBU on national television, the demand exploded. Orders started pouring in. Daymond received an order for $300,000 worth of clothes from a massive trade show. There was only one problem. He didn't have the fabric, the machines, or the money to make the clothes. He was trapped. If he couldn't fulfill the order, FUBU would die. In a moment of pure, terrifying dedication, Daymond's mother did the unthinkable. She took out a $100,000 second mortgage on her home. She bet everything on her son. They emptied the house, moved the furniture out, and turned their living room into a full-scale factory. Half the house was sewing machines, the other half was sleeping bags for Daymond and his friends. The risk paid off. They fulfilled the order. Samsung's textile division noticed their incredible hustle and offered them a massive distribution deal. From that living room in Queens, FUBU exploded onto the global stage. It went from selling hats on a street corner to generating over $6 billion in global sales. FUBU became a staple of 90s culture, worn by everyone from NSYNC to Mariah Carey to Muhammad Ali. Daymond John had achieved the impossible. He had built a dynasty. Years later, his relentless drive caught the attention of television producers, and he was invited to join the cast of Shark Tank. Today, he sits in that leather chair, investing his millions into the next generation of hungry entrepreneurs. So, how do you apply Daymond John's story to your own life? How can you look at your current situation, no matter how tough it is, and build your own empire? Here are the 3 golden rules you must learn from Daymond John. Number 1, embrace the power of broke. If you don't have money to start your business, consider it a blessing. Money often hides bad ideas. When you are broke, you're forced to be creative. You're forced to build a product that is actually good, because you can't afford to mask a bad product with expensive marketing. Use your lack of resources as your ultimate competitive advantage. Number 2, protect your equity. When Daymond was starting out, an investor offered him $10,000 to buy 40% of his company. Daymond was desperate for cash, but he said no. If he had taken that deal, he would have lost hundreds of millions of dollars later. Never sell your future for a quick paycheck today. Value what you're building. Number 3, your community is your currency. Daymond didn't try to sell suits to Wall Street bankers. He sold hip-hop gear to hip-hop kids. He knew his audience because he was his audience. Whatever business you want to start, whether it's an online channel, a software company, or a local store, build it for a specific community. Solve their problems, speak their language, and they will make you rich. Daymond John's story proves that it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter if you're waiting tables or working a job you hate. What matters is the size of your dream and your willingness to execute it while everyone else is sleeping. You have the tools, you have the mindset, now it's time to build. Thank you for watching Dollar Key. If this story inspired you to take action today, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We drop high-value business blueprints every week to help you unlock your financial freedom. Stay hungry, keep hustling, and we will see you in the next video.